Hey guys, I'd like to do a second review on this Harbor Freight oxyacetylene setup that I have. Let me just start off, just like I started the other video off. I am not an expert, okay? So just to let you know that right up front. What I have done is purchase something that I knew that I would use for my car restoration. And basically the only instruction that I have is reading and YouTube. I try to be as safe as I possibly can with it. So anyway, I just want to let you know I am not an expert at this, and it's just a hobby guy that likes buying a tool that I thought I would use. So here we go with the review. I wanted to address a couple of the frequently asked questions. I get asked the same thing a lot, so I'd like to maybe touch on it. The first thing is how much does it cost to fill the tanks? When I filled this, I filled it 3 years ago, and it's an exchange program where you exchange your bottles empty for their full ones, and for both oxygen and acetylene. I'm in a Chicago suburb. It cost me $75 for the both tanks. So where you are, it may vary on the cost of that. Second question I get is how long does it last? I bought this 3 years ago. I used it on that video, and now I had a project that I wanted to use it, and I used it again. So in 3 years, I've used it twice.
And this is the second time right now that I'm using it on this new project that I'll let you know. But first, I read some safety stuff and printed up some safety stuff.
I do have the manual, but I went and printed this just to keep this right here, and I can destroy this and not destroy my manual. Is how to turn it on and how to turn it off. I kind of remind myself when I do that. And also I printed out the turn on sequence, the turn off sequence, and the cutting pressures. So I keep that out here now, and I keep the manual inside.
So I'm starting this project, and I wanted to use this oxyacetylene. And there were so many people who were telling me how dangerous it was, and it is. So I made sure I did a little bit of reading to try to be as safe as I possibly can, and I gave it a shot. And if you can see, I've got my left thumb resting on the oxygen preheat knob. That's not a good technique because I accidentally keep changing the preheat. So I'll change that next time. Lesson learned. Also, there's a speed that one should travel when cutting, and if you go the correct speed, then the material will fall, the part that you're cutting off, which for me is a circle, would fall right in, but I'm not going the right speed, and that's why it's hanging up in there. I guess the slag is re-solidifying. So, lesson learned.
But the main reason I bought this is for my restoration of my car. I know that there's going to probably be some nuts and bolts that I have to cut off, or some things that have to get cut off, and that's why I bought it when I did, and I'm glad I did. I'm not a daily user of it, so I don't know how long it will last. I guess it just depends on how you use it. Also, some HVAC guys asked me, would this be good because they're going into that field? I'm not sure. I would ask your instructor. They know more on the size. It's a 10 cubic foot acetylene and 20 cubic feet on the oxygen. And that's something you can ask your instructor, will it be good for you? The other thing I get asked a lot is what size is the cutting tip and what size is the welding tip. Both of them are size 0. The other thing, I got warned many times about how dangerous this is, and I don't take safety lightly in the least bit, but some guys were asking, did I kill myself, did I blow myself up? Not yet. I try to be careful in everything, guys, and do research. I know it's better to get instructed on this, and I would highly suggest if you're going to do that, that you get instruction, but I have been trying to do as safely as I can, use this as safely as I can. And like I said, I've only used it twice. Once in the first video and now in this project that I just started. The other thing is, does it have flashback arresters? It says in the book, I just looked it up, that it does not. However, on here there's some check valves on it, and on the check valves it says it's 50 psi check valve on it. But in doing other research, all manufacturers in the US at least have to have flashback arresters in the tanks themselves. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't, and I probably will go get some flashback arresters, but I hear that they have to have them in our tanks. Couple of lessons learned. I use this to cut a 4-inch in diameter metal pipe that I'd used as a crucible, and it had aluminum on the inside of it. And that aluminum, as I was cutting, I thought that, if it's cut in steel, it'll cut right through the aluminum because it's a weaker metal. But it had a little trouble when it got to that, because you're going from 1/4 inch to, sometimes there was maybe 3/16 worth of aluminum on the other side, and it struggled through that, and sometimes it would pop on me when it would get there. But that was, if I could go back in time, I'd melt the aluminum out first and then use the cutting torch on it. Also, the guys were talking about how the metal falls out if you use the correct speed. I just didn't use the correct speed, and you'll see me in there trying to get the circle that I cut out to fall in, and it took a little bit more. If I knew what I was doing, it would take less time, but it did work. And I did something the guys on YouTube says a little more difficult to do, which is a pierce cut instead of starting on the edge, but it worked out fine on piercing through there. So I hope that answered most of your questions. I still am glad that I purchased this. Like I said, I plan on using it in my auto restoration that I'm working on right now. And if you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And thank you for your time, and we'll see you next time.